Tan Sri, can you go at this? I mean, because you're very rooted in a technocratic economic world, an administrative one, how do you deal with questions like that?
Yeah, Johnson.
Okay, thanks, Johnson. That's very interesting. You know, I once, one of my favorite authors for a long time is a guy called Walter Lippmann. He has died, but he was a very well-known author 40, 50 years ago. He wrote many books. One of his best books is a book called Public Policy, Walter Lippmann. And in that book, he asked the question, why do old men plant trees? Why do old men plant trees? Because surely the guy will not be there to eat that mango, you know. He's an old man and he will die. And why do young men die in battle for the country? Why do young men die in battle? The answer is that the answer is the long term. Because society, as you said, society is not, when we talk about Malaysian society, what do we mean by Malaysian society? Do we mean us here, all matured voting individuals? Of course, politicians always think of voting individuals, and I'm one of those. I was ex-politician. But it's certainly not that. It is also all the babies who are born, who are very young. They are also part of society, and we have to care for them. But what Walter Lippmann was trying to say is that it is not even that. It is beyond that. It is generations yet unborn. Generations yet unborn, our chuchu, our chichit, not yet born, they are part of Malaysia. And our thinking, our consciousness must be to make sure that Malaysia remains a viable proposition, a great society, not only for us, whoever who are living, but also for the future generation. That is quite difficult for many people because you have election every 5 years. The your chuchu or chichit who is not born is not going to vote. So you tend to do whatever is right in the short term, which is wrong. I agree with you, it's wrong, and certainly wrong in the climate change that we have. But apart from I forgot to make a point. Apart from the economy, one of the good aspects of our Malaysian society and government, civil servants, everyone, a decision we made at independence about the role of women. You see, while we have all over the world people discussing about the role of women in society and the role of isms, communism, socialism, etc., we decided long ago that we want to take everyone on board, irrespective of race, irrespective of gender. True, when we became independent, the female participation was low because education was limited. But when education was opened up, now we see that there are more women graduates in universities than men, which is okay. But perhaps one day we will have to have passed a law in parliament to reserve 30% of all positions for men. For men. Maybe one day. But that is something that we seldom take credit for ourselves because we see in other parts of the world, Middle East, and even in the Western countries, there is a very strict glass ceiling for women. We never had it. So apart from economics, we did the right thing on the social side. But we have to go back to the consciousness, the civilizational aspects of our country, and to think of the generations yet unborn, which is not easy, but it's something that we have to face up to and do it. Thank you very much.
I used to see Johnson on the streets when we were demonstrating together. And you talk about the 20-year time frame. Actually, this is one of my favorite, but today I thought we were talking about economics, so I didn't want to use the word 20 years time frame. So in 1997, I was supposed to go to US. I did an American degree program here, but so the year started with 2 ringgit 50 cent to $1 US. The year ended with 480, nearly 490. So I decided to stay back because I have no saving. Family has no saving, so I decided to stay back. And because I stayed back in '98, we started going on to the Straits in September '98, and eventually brought me into politics. I got into politics because of that. I was recently reflecting on the last 20 years. Last 20 years ago, we were protesting in front of KLCC during APEC. We're going to host APEC again. But I see this period of time. Actually, I got involved in this whole realignment of the opposition since 2016. So 2015, the breakup of Pakatan Rakyat, and subsequently the realignment with Tun Dr. Mahathir and the forces aligned with him. I thought this is really the the window of opportunity for us in Malaysia, so that we can actually heal the nation. We can move forward with the healing of the wounds of '98, and move beyond, and actually set up a framework for the years to come, maybe for the next 20 years, maybe for the next 40 years. And I think there are 3 aspects that we may have to work on. One is from a race-based narrative to move to civic nationalism. The sort of civic nationalism that we should promote is one that we basically see everyone as a contributing factor to the society, not just economically, but in this entirety. Secondly, is the questions of moving away from semi-authoritarian thinking or framework, my frame, to building democratic institutions. It is not easy. We're suffering now because suddenly there's a vacuum, suddenly the government doesn't control the media, and everyone doesn't know which way to explain to the public, and we are now facing a situation where we are very much torn apart by racial sentiment. But we will have to think about how to build democratic institutions for the years to come, how to reform parliament, how to build a public discourse that is actually based on civic nationalism, and how to move on forward, apart from other institutional reforms. And I think we may have to move from these global discussions on neoliberalism to find way and perhaps show example to the world what can be done in our economy. Can we have a bit more progressive thinking on the economic front that put job at the center instead of growth at the center, for instance? Okay? Looking at pay as one of the most important issues, rather than having just number of workers without thinking of workers as citizens. Now, these are the questions that I hope we have a chance to deal with, so that we build a solid foundation for the next 20 years.